Welcome to today's lesson. We're going to be going over the variables of an experiment. So, there are a few words that we're going to need to know, right? We are going to have our control, and we're going to have our independent, and our dependent. So a variable is anything that changes, right? Or all the different factors that go into the outcome of an experiment. Okay, so these are all different kinds of variables right here. So our control is going to be the thing that stays consistent. And typically you're going to have lots of variables that stay consistent throughout your experiment so that you can prove that what you did change actually caused the effect, right? It's that relationship of cause and effect. Your independent variable, your independent variable is what I changed. Okay, so it's the one thing that you're going to change so that you can measure how it impacts the outcome. Now, the easiest way to remember this is you have your control plus your independent is going to equal your dependent. And that's because your dependent depends on what you changed, right? So your outcome or your dependent variable, it depends on what you changed. So let's give an example to kind of help this make sense. So for an experiment, I want to grow some flowers and I want to see how to get my flowers to grow taller. So let's make a list of all of the different variables. Those are factors that impact the outcome, right? All the factors that go into this are, let's say, water, sunlight, soil, fertilizer, the seed. It could be, that's good enough. That's a good enough list, right? Or I guess the time of year, probably. So let's pick the one thing that we want to change, that we want to test. I'm going to say soil. Okay, so let's come down here. Let's write this down. Sorry. I have my control. Now my control is everything that I did not change. It's everything that's going to stay consistent for every experiment, right? So they're all going to get the same amount of water. They're all going to receive the same amount of sunlight. They're going to have the same amount of fertilizer and the same type. Sorry, I forgot how to spell that for a second. They're all going to be the same seed, so it'll come from the same packet, and they'll all be planted at the same time of year. Okay. So I have my control. I'm going to add that to my independent variable. Now remember, the independent variable is what I am changing. So we decided that we're going to do soil. So there we go. So let's say for one plant, for one flower pot, I have Miracle-Gro. The other one I have Great Value. One I just have plain old dirt. Another one we can do those clay balls. Another one we could do sand. Another we could do maybe gravel. We can just look and see all these different types of soil. and we're going to test those. So that's the one thing that's going to change, is the type of soil. Right, now we add that together, and that's going to equal my dependent variable. So your dependent variable is the outcome. It's basically what you're measuring, right? So in this case, it's the growth of the flowers. So I would run this experiment. I would collect my data at different points, see how tall each plant was, and at the end of however much time I decided, I would then measure the growth of the flowers and come to a conclusion. And that is a little bit of variables 101. That's something you're really going to want to know how to define and identify when you go into the test, because they will give you sample experiments and they will ask you to identify the control variables or the testing variable, which is your independent variable, right? And so that's some vocabulary that you're really going to want to know and you're going to want to be familiar with.